Hello, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome back to Grizzly Bear Sim's YouTube channel, and welcome back to Elm Creek Farms and Elm Creek Farms B&B. We are in full swing operation. As you noticed, we are in the month of March. I went ahead and fast forwarded through um, February. I'm not sure. This is episode number 11. I'm not sure. I can't remember exactly which month we left off in episode 10. I'm thinking it was January or early February, and I had mentioned that I might just move us forward, do the work off camera to keep the farm going, keep the animals fed, that kind of stuff, and bring us into March when we can actually start doing some field work. In order to be able to do field work, we need to be able to properly back our tractor up to the implement, though, and we are working on that. Um, and so, yeah, so we are in March, the first part of March. We're playing 2 game days per season. And I don't know if I mentioned this in a previous episode, but I have been running the manual attach mod, and it's pretty cool. I did a 5-minute mod review on this. If you want to check that out on my channel, you can do so. And it's pretty easy how it works. You just walk up to your implement, you long hold the letter Z key that will disconnect your hydraulic lines, and then Q to detach the device, the opposite to connect, Q, and then long hold the Z key. If this device had a PTO, if it was PTO driven and there was a PTO shaft, you would quick press the letter Z to connect the PTO shaft. And again, I go through all of that in that 5-minute mod review. Let's go ahead and get out there to the field. I want to introduce you to our hired workers. As you know, over the progression of the last couple of episodes, my father has moved to town, and so he's given up living in the big house, and which is the house I was born in. When we started this series, we had moved what was my grandfather's house out here. Well, George is living in there. We have moved out. He has moved in. We've moved up to the big house. My wife has successfully turned the barn in front of the big house into a B&B, into a bed and breakfast, and it's quite successful already. It's been on operation since January, and even though this is what would be considered quite possibly the slower time of the year, it is somewhat the off season, just coming out of the holidays and everything. Obviously, we didn't take advantage of holiday, leisure folks that wanted to come out to the farm here. We weren't open then, but now we are. So it is the off season, but it has been busy enough. It has been busy enough in the off season to basically confirm our our speculation, if you will, that something like this is going to do well for us. Now we're going to just to sort of recap these fields. We harvested. I don't remember what was on this field before. Um, Oats was on this field before. Well, we're going to put oats back down here on this particular field. Once again, we don't need to worry about crop rotation with this version of Seasons, but we are going to go back with oats. So this field was harvested, and it was mulched after the harvest. I think I did that off camera. Might have done one of these other fields on camera, but we mulched it off camera, and it has basically sat here for several months, dormant, if you will. And the great thing about it is we don't have weed infestation on these 2 or 3 fields here. Now those over there are just infested, and we'll have to deal with those. But since the field has been sat here, um, kind of dormant. The ground has frozen, and everything. The dirt's a bit packed, and so we're just going to run the cultivator over it. Even though we possibly could direct seed this, we're just going to run the cultivator over it, cleaning up these weeds here along the edge of the field. run the cultivator across it, and then we're going to look at these rocks here in just a moment that we're uncovering as we go through this process of cultivation. And that's of course one of the sort of dilemmas, if you will, that anytime you do either deep plowing, um, cultivation, you're going to run the risk of uncovering stones in your field. And what we want to do is evaluate the circumstances, the situation, to see, okay, well, does it warrant us to roll those stones into the soil? In other words, are they small enough that we could actually just roll them back into the soil, or do we need to strategically remove the stones? And we've kind of adopted a process, and this has worked well since George has joined us. And by the way, the other hired worker that will help us from time to time. His name is Bo, and he lives in town and will come out on the occasion that we actually need him. George obviously is a full time employee and lives at where I said in the house that I lived in. He and his family, and he has been a tremendous help to us thus far. But um, Bo comes out and works on a kind of as needed basis. We try to schedule him, because quite honestly, I've never liked sort of having to sit and wait by the phone to ring to be able to go and work or something, because what if I'm not there? Is that gonna upset my employer, even though it's a temporary contract thing? So we try to look ahead. Left a lot of the I've left a lot of the uh, planning to George. George has background in agricultural farming. He has farmed in this area for years, and so he's kind of looking ahead. He and I sit down and look at sort of the overall plan, strategic. Of course, I look at the Farmer's Almanac just as my father did and my grandfather before him, and trying to look at that to determine exactly what we have in store for us. But so George is looking at things that we need to do in the next week and the week after kind of concept, and then of course he gets Bo here, like I said, on an as needed basis. Bo is not here today, but hopefully he'll be here tomorrow, and we'll have some things for him to do. And there are a lot of things to do that we're finding. Running the B&B and trying to the B&B is going to have to be almost 100% self-sufficient. In other words, yes, there's going to be some things that we're going to have to purchase locally to be able to meet the demands of our guests and such. But we also want the B&B to be productive internally from some of the stuff that we're growing here. We have changed our greenhouses around, which I think I will talk about. I'll wait and keep you in suspense for the rest of this episode, and possibly in episode number 12. I will lay out the changes that we have made with regards to the greenhouse operations. But we have re-engineered those here on the farm so that we can produce tomatoes and lettuce, because those are two direct things that would benefit the B&B operations immensely by doing that. And then we have added another operation. I'll just leave it at that. That is also going to help with the things that we're doing. So we know that we can't be 100% self-sufficient. In other words, we're not necessarily going to worry about um, having pigs that we will raise and slaughter for bacon and sausage and ham and things like that. But so some of that stuff we still get locally, and we do try to buy 100% local in everything that we do here at Elm Creek B&B, Elm Creek Farms B&B. But it has been quite successful. We have things planned for the summer months. I've talked very briefly about the opportunity of folks coming out here, staying, and getting a taste of what it's like to work on the farm, and that is something that we're working through right now. There's not a whole lot with us in the field prep and field planting season. There's nothing really that we can get them engaged in here because we don't well, quite honestly, I barely trust myself to operate some of this heavy equipment, but I certainly wouldn't trust um, some city slicker coming in that barely can drive their little Yugo or whatever. But we do have things, animal care, um, things like that we can involve them in and have them help us and get that farming life under their belt. It's a huge thing. It's a huge concept, and people that are stuck in the city that all they see is concrete and steel for 24 hours a day, 7 days a week, 365 days a year, um, enjoy the opportunity to come out and get the farm fresh air and to get their hands dirty. And so, in addition to those kind of things, which we should have ramped up before we get into the summer months, we will have hay rides and trail rides and that sort of thing going on as well. We are going to um, we're going to purchase a couple of John Deere Gators, um, maybe some SUVs at some point. Our concern with SUVs, well, really, even the concern with the John Deere Gators and allowing the guests of the B&B to sort of explore the farm and everything is whether or not we can really trust people to stay off the fields and stuff like that. Because the last thing that we want to do is have get our crops planted, have corn, have oats growing, and then all of a sudden see somebody in a four-wheeler going bouncing across the field. That might be time to bring out the shotgun. But we're looking at the feasibility of, especially back in the woods, back in the forest, back there in the pieces of land that we own back there, having some trails. We've got some, obviously we've got hiking and stuff like that that's going on. We've got horseback trails back there, and we're thinking about kind of designating one specific area that if people want to take an ATV through, they will have that ability to do that. We're going to make one more pass, and then we're going to take a look at the field condition, specifically as it relates to the stones that we have that we're seeing in the field. Now, from my tractor, looking at them, I'm thinking that these are in the small variety of stones, which is makes me happy, makes my eyes happy to see those, because that means that we can just get George to go ahead and roll those under and out of sight, out of mind, if you will, versus him spending the next several hours going through and collecting them with the rock picker, and then 2,000 liters at a time or something like that, and then having to deal with those. Um, the kind of getting out of character. I have seen some videos that have been done on YouTube discussing the advantage or the disadvantage, if it were, of either picking the rocks up, rolling the rocks under, or doing nothing, and what that specifically means to the repair costs and everything of the equipment. And I've seen varying opinions on this subject. Um, Even to the point to where that we still wonder whether or not um, this process might be still bugged in some way, because a lot of people have tried to turn rocks off, but they still get rocks and everything. But anyway, it's kind of all over the place as far as whether it's worth it to do it or not. We're just going through it because we think as we get back into character, you know, rolling these rocks under or picking up the really big rocks is going to be the best for our fields. It's going to be the best for our equipment, and these are definitely in the small variety of rocks. I have seen we've done enough rock picking on Elm Creek Farms to know the difference between small and large, and these are definitely in the small category. So what we're going to do is just while we finish up the cultivation process, we're going to get George working here on rolling this field, and hopefully there'll be enough of a gap between he and I, and we won't get in each other's way, and we'll get him started. Hopefully the game will allow the AI to do this. There have been some, plus his tractor is much slower than mine. But for the most part, and I'm going to just jump out of character here, but I am, well, by the time you see this video, will be about 3 weeks since release, and I am about a little over, or a day over 2 weeks since the release of the game of Farm Sim 22, and still absolutely loving it, and still learning a lot about it. Still learning how we want to, adapt some of the changes to our gameplay. So yeah, so George is going to do fine there. I think George's field speed is matched up with mine pretty closely. Maybe I'm a little bit faster, it looks like, so shouldn't have a problem with running into each other. I should be able to get the cultivation done before he gets to my point, even though his working width is a little bit wider than mine. So yeah, so um, mods are still coming out for the game, and boy, I'll tell you, I've seen some of the screenshots from Oxygen David's brand new map, and I think, if I remember correctly, I think it's called Calmsden. Um, I think that's what it is, Calmsden Farms, and it is it's basically a not a remake, but it has been it is inspired by real life farms in England, Gloucestershire, England, and boy, I tell you, it is just looking beautiful. And I guess that brings us to a good question as to whether or not, or just how long am I going to consider farming on Elm Creek on the default base game map with Farm Sim 22. And in the past, I have sort of, because I've never, well, you know, I got started with the Farming Simulator franchise in Farm Sim 15. And I played on Westbridge Hills for months before I sort of understood the whole mods concept. And I think one of the very first modded maps that I played was from Stevie. And it's one of the reasons why I like some of Stevie's maps and why I enjoy playing Stevie's maps. But the other the other map that I fell in love with in Farm Sim 15, I believe it was 15, might have been 17, was Colborough Park Farm, and and of course that's how I got to know Bullet Bill, and then of course I've played Oxygen David maps many times and uh, enjoyed those. One of the things that I have done in the past is I've jumped to like the first or maybe second modded map that's come out for the new game and sort of abandon the base game map if I was playing it. So, for example, um, FS19 was riddled with bugs, more so in my opinion than 22. At least the issues that I'm finding in Farm Sim 22 are not are not preventing me from playing the game. I've got 60 something hours in the game and having fun each and every session that I play. With 19, they were game breaking in my opinion. Plus, I really just did not like Raven's Port map. So unfortunately, I tried like the first modded map that came out. Whomever got the jump on that, and it was a dog. Don't even remember what it was. And of course, I don't anticipate anything coming out from Oxygen David or any of the really solid, reputable map developers as being a dog when it comes out. My point is I think I'm going to stay on Elm Creek. I almost called this Elmsport. I'm going to stay on Elm Creek, continue, just trudging along until something really spectacular comes out for Farm Sim 22. It might be Calmsden, it might be something else. Who knows? Now, of course, every YouTuber on the planet, every Twitch streamer on the planet is going to obviously jump and bite the first, when Oxygen David or Bullet Bill or anybody releases a map. And I'm hoping, I'm fingers crossed that Farm Sim 22 is so awesome, and that it's going to lure Bullet Bill back into modding. I would love to be able to play one of his creations in Farm Sim 22, but that's a different story for a different time. But we'll just kind of wait and enjoy this. This is a lovely map for it being a Giants creation, as I've talked about before, and we'll just see what happens. And with regards to everyone else playing it, um, you know, everybody has their own style. So everyone's going to be playing an Oxygen David map on YouTube, but not everyone's going to play it in the style of Grizzly Bear Sims. So um, there is that. All right. Well, we are just another pass or two in getting this field cultivated and completely done. George is rolling the field as quickly as he possibly can and looks like he's doing a superb job on getting these small stones just pushed under the surface, just enough that it doesn't affect our seeders, our planters when we come through afterwards and seed. And now there's some discussions as to, well, when should we herbicide? When should we spray herbicide? Should we spray herbicide, um, immediately after we seed as more preventative, or should we wait until we see the first signs of weed growth? Because you never know. Weeds may not take to the field. Just it's kind of an unknown. It appears that in Farm Sim 22, and I don't know if this is a bug or if this is just the way that it works, but in Farm Sim 22, it appears that if you spray herbicide immediately after seeding, that it serves as a preventative measure. Now, I do watch some real-world farming YouTubers, and for the life of me, I can't remember if these guys are doing like Millennial Farmer and Our Wyoming Life. Well, he doesn't. He's not really planting crops though. Um, but anyway, I can't remember if these guys are doing things preventatively or if they wait until the weeds appear. But in my mind, I would think doing it preventively is is the best option. So these stones over here are still in the small category. You can really tell a difference between small and large stones. Thankfully, Giants made them um, noticeable enough that you can determine the difference. So let's just go over and take a peek at the areas that George has already been. And like I said, he's done a fantastic job. And if we had anything of the larger variety of stone, those would be visible. And then we could make the decision. And obviously, the answer would be to pick them up. And of course, this is where a lot of people are saying giants, give us the ability to pick those stones up, because we're not talking about bedrock boulders that are the size of the Flintstones house, because obviously for that we would need um, some dynamite or tannerite or something. But it would be nice if we had the ability that if after we rolled the smaller stones under, that we would then have the ability to use our hand to pick up a what would be classified as a slightly larger stone. Because in my my understanding is there's only two classes of stones: these smaller ones that the roller is capable of pushing under the soil, and the slightly larger ones that the roller will not push under the soil. So, who really knows what we will find as we continue to move to our west. Now, just for clarification, fields one, which is way over there, the field that we enlarged just down from the barn, that has already been rolled. It's been plowed. Uh, it's been lined, and it's more or less ready to go. It is weed infested, but I think we will just be able to see directly over the top of those. The other one over there that my cursor is kind of pointing at, that's also a combined field, and that is the same state, and so is that one there. So these other two fields here, 8 and 7, are more or less the same situation as this one. So we will see just what we need to do. But what we are going to do next in the next episode is I will explain to you some of the changes that we've made on the farm to best support the B&B operations, and also most likely bring the cedar up here and plant oats in this field. And I think from that standpoint, we will have our winter wheat crop that will be coming available in the next few months. We will have an oat crop that will come in, sometime after that. We are possibly going to plant um, oats or sorghum over by the greenhouses, the big greenhouse operation that we have in town. I've had George and Bo working on that to take the end of the field that we did not use for greenhouses, and to go ahead and get that prepped to be able to put either oats or sorghum over there. Now we won't worry about collecting straw off of those fields, because I don't really think that we will need it, and I don't think the economies and everything are such that it would benefit us to bale it or pick it up. I think that we'll just let it go into the ground. We'll just let the harvester chop it. But we are going to need to most likely buy, because we're going to need to move some pieces of equipment around from over there to over here. So we're probably going to be looking at buying a low boy or a low loader type trailer. And we are still planning on corn for chaff. We need to empty that bunker and see if we can either repair that bunker or if we will need to replace that bunker. So that is yet to be determined as far as how that's going to work out. But we are going to do chaff, and we're probably going to do 3 fields of corn. And what we will end up doing is we will start chopping the corn when we have the opportunity to do so. And if we have good yields off of that, then we may go ahead and cease the chopping and leave a field that we can then just go ahead and combine and sell that corn for a price wherever whoever wants to buy it the best value. We'll just see, but we'll have the opportunity for probably 3 fields of corn for that. We will be renting or leasing the forage harvester to do that job. It doesn't really make sense to buy it and to buy the header and all of that stuff just to be able to do this one time of year. I think we can just absorb those costs. As I've said, the B&B is doing well. The greenhouses in town are doing well, and that's really providing us the income that we need to continue to move forward. All right, well, ladies and gentlemen, thank you so much for watching this episode. I appreciate you tuning into my channel each and every time I release a video. If you are not subscribed to my channel, please do so. Please click that subscribe button. Also, please click the like button if you've enjoyed the episode. And of course, go ahead and click that little that little bell, so you will be so you will be notified when I release additional content on the Grizzly Bear Sims YouTube channel. Until next time, my voice is going, and so am I. Thanks for watching, and I will see you soon. Bye.